In the beginning, when the cosmos was still a vast canvas of mystery and divine purpose, an extraordinary event unfolded. A moment that would reverberate through the corridors of time and shape the destiny of all creation. In that timeless era, before human memory could even grasp the significance of divine interventions, God embarked on a wondrous act of creation by fashioning Adam, a being endowed with a spark of divine essence. As Adam emerged from the elements of earth and water, a celestial celebration ensued, marking the inception of a profound narrative that intertwined the fate of angels, mortals, and a singular, rebellious spirit. Within the resplendent assembly of celestial beings, each angel radiated an aura of unwavering obedience, their luminous forms a testament to the harmony of divine order. They were created with a singular purpose: to honor and execute the commands of the Almighty. Yet amidst this sea of divine submission, there was one whose origin set him apart: Iblis. Forged from the celestial fire, Iblis possessed a unique quality, a brilliance that burned with the intensity of both awe and pride. His fiery nature, a stark contrast to the humble clay from which Adam was formed, stirred within him a sense of intrinsic superiority, a belief that his essence was more exalted than that of the newly created human. When God, in his infinite wisdom, decreed that all in the heavenly court should bow in recognition of Adam's exalted status, it was not a mere physical gesture. The act of prostration was a symbolic submission, an acknowledgement of the intricate design and purpose that underpinned the universe. As each angel bowed, the act resonated deeply, weaving together the fabric of divine order and humility. However, as the moment of submission approached, Iblis found himself ensnared by an inner tumult, a raging conflict between divine command and personal pride. His heart was a battleground where the embers of self-importance burned fiercely, challenging the decree that demanded reverence for the divine will. In that critical moment, Iblis's refusal to bow was not born of ignorance or malice, but from an overwhelming conviction in his own superiority. His fiery nature, which had granted him brilliance and power, also fed a dangerous pride that would ultimately lead him astray. This singular act of defiance shattered the serene harmony of the divine assembly and set in motion a chain of events that would forever alter the balance between obedience and rebellion. The story of Iblis, then, is not just an account of celestial descent. It is a profound allegory about the perils of pride, the cost of defiance, and the eternal struggle between humility and arrogance, a narrative that continues to speak to the very essence of the human spirit, inviting us to reflect on our own choices and the inherent responsibility that comes with free will. The universe, still in its embryonic state, was a realm of possibility, waiting for the divine spark that would ignite life itself. It was in this primordial setting that God, in his infinite wisdom and boundless creativity, fashioned Adam, a being destined to carry the divine imprint and purpose into the world. Crafted from the humble elements of clay and water, Adam was not merely a physical form, but a vessel imbued with a fragment of the divine essence, marking him as the pinnacle of creation. This act was more than the summoning of life. It was a deliberate orchestration of purpose and destiny, setting the stage for a drama of cosmic proportions. As the divine craftsman completed his masterpiece, he gathered the celestial hosts, the angels, who were manifestations of pure obedience and grace, to witness this unparalleled creation. Their existence, characterized by unwavering submission to God's will, was about to be interwoven with a command that carried profound symbolic significance. In the heavenly court, where the light of divine knowledge and the aura of sacred duty converged, God pronounced a command that would test not only the loyalty of his servants, but also the very nature of humility and reverence. He decreed that all who dwelt within the celestial assembly should bow in recognition of Adam's unique status. This command was not a mere formality, nor was it a tribute to the physical form of Adam. It was a profound acknowledgement of the intrinsic divine spark that had been placed within him, a recognition that transcended the boundaries of material creation. The act of bowing, in this context, was a gesture laden with symbolism. It was an expression of submission, a visible sign of humility and acceptance of the divinely ordained hierarchy. For the angels, whose existence was rooted in constant adoration and unerring obedience, this command resonated deeply as it represented the ultimate act of recognizing the Creator's design. Their bows were not just movements of the physical body, but expressions of the soul's surrender to a higher order. In each graceful descent, there lay an acknowledgement of the intricate balance between power and humility, a balance that was essential to the fabric of the universe. Yet, within this celestial ritual, the scene was set for a dramatic confrontation. The decree was clear and unequivocal. All must bow in honor of Adam, affirming the divine wisdom that had orchestrated his creation. However, the command was not simply a test of physical obedience. It was an invitation to embrace a deeper understanding of one's place in the cosmic order. It underscored that true honor was not to be found in one's own inherent might or the nature of one's creation, but rather in the recognition and acceptance of the divine will. The angels, in their collective act of submission, demonstrated that reverence for the Creator was paramount, and that every being, regardless of its origin or material composition, was part of a larger, divinely sanctioned plan. This moment, charged with spiritual gravity, underscored the delicate interplay between divine authority and the essence of free will. The command to bow was an embodiment of the eternal truth that power and humility are intrinsically linked. One cannot exist without the other. In that sacred moment, the universe itself seemed to pause, as if in reverence of the cosmic order being reestablished. The act of prostration was a reminder that every creation, no matter how magnificent, was ultimately a reflection of the Creator's boundless love and wisdom. Thus, the creation of Adam and the subsequent divine command to bow were not isolated incidents, but part of a grand narrative. A narrative that sought to weave together the themes of obedience, humility, and the eternal quest for understanding one's place within the cosmos. This divine directive, echoing through the corridors of time, set in motion events that would challenge the very essence of pride and ambition. And it was within this profound interplay that the seeds of cosmic discord were sown. In those primordial times, when the cosmos was still a canvas of potential and wonder, God set into motion the creation of Adam, a being fashioned not merely from physical elements, but imbued with a spark of divine light. This act was both a celebration of creation and an introduction to a new chapter in the cosmic narrative, where the material and the spiritual converged in a single, transformative moment. Adam was formed from the humble substance of clay, water, and earth, yet his creation was elevated by the divine breath that animated him. In him, the Creator instilled a unique essence that went beyond mere biology. It was a testament to the potential of human consciousness and the inherent ability to reflect divine qualities. The very process of Adam's formation was an orchestration of divine purpose, a deliberate act designed to introduce a new form of life capable of reasoning, reflection, and understanding. This act of creation was an acknowledgement that within every element of the universe, no matter how seemingly insignificant, there lay a spark of the divine waiting to be awakened. Once Adam came into being, God gathered the celestial host, the angels, whose existence was defined by unwavering devotion and complete submission to his will. It was within the sanctified realms of the heavenly court that a decree was pronounced, a command imbued with symbolism and eternal significance. God ordered that all in the celestial assembly should bow before Adam. This was not a command of subservience to the newly created being for his own sake. Rather, it was a profound act of recognition, an acknowledgement of the divine spark that had been instilled within him. The bow was meant to serve as a symbol of the intricate relationship between the Creator and his creation, a reminder that every element of the universe was part of a grand, divinely orchestrated plan. The act of bowing, therefore, was not simply a physical gesture, but a profound expression of humility and submission. For the angels, whose existence was marked by absolute obedience and reverence. This command was both an honor and a test. In lowering themselves in a single, coordinated act of respect, they affirmed the Creator's wisdom and the unique role assigned to Adam. Each gesture of prostration carried with it the weight of divine order, symbolizing a recognition that all creation, no matter how varied in form or essence, was meant to exist in harmony under the guidance of the Almighty. This divine directive underscored an essential truth about the nature of creation: that power and humility are not mutually exclusive, but rather are intertwined in the very fabric of existence. The command to bow was an invitation to all the celestial beings to embrace a deeper understanding of their place in the cosmic hierarchy. It was a reminder that true greatness lies not in the possession of inherent might or superiority, but in the recognition of one's dependence on the divine and the willingness to honor that higher wisdom. In that sacred moment, as every angel bent in unison, the universe itself seemed to echo with the silent acknowledgement of this divine order. The act was a reaffirmation of the belief that the physical form of a being, however magnificent, is only a vessel for the greater purpose bestowed upon it by the Creator. Adam, as the embodiment of divine intent, became a living testament to the interconnectedness of all creation. The bow was more than a ritual. It was a transformative symbol that bridged the gap between the ephemeral material world and the enduring realm of the divine. Thus, the creation of Adam and the ensuing command to bow were interwoven events that signified the inauguration of a new cosmic order. They heralded an era where the interplay of obedience, humility, and divine wisdom would set the stage for all that was to follow. A timeless lesson on the balance between human potential and the eternal truths that govern the universe. Iblis's origins are shrouded in a blend of divine artistry and elemental symbolism, marking him as a being apart from the rest of creation. Formed from the pure, radiant essence of fire, Iblis emerged at a time when every creation was an expression of the Creator's boundless creativity. Unlike Adam, who was molded from the humble clay and water, Iblis's genesis in fire was not merely a physical distinction, but a profound marker of his intrinsic nature. Fire, with its inherent qualities of transformation, energy, and brilliance, became both his blessing and the seedbed for his eventual downfall. This elemental heritage granted him a natural superiority, a quality that he embraced, and that later fueled his sense of distinction among the celestial beings. From the earliest moments of his existence, Iblis was endowed with a keen consciousness that set him apart in the divine assembly. His awareness was not passive, it was an active, vibrant understanding of the universe and its intricate workings. This acute perception allowed him to observe the divine order with an intelligence that was both brilliant and discerning. As he contemplated his own creation, Iblis could not help but marvel at the luminous quality of his fiery origin, which seemed to bestow upon him an unparalleled clarity and strength. It was this very self-awareness that planted the seeds of pride. A pride that, though subtle at first, would gradually evolve into a defiant assertion of his superiority. The nature of Iblis was a complex interplay of light and shadow. The fire from which he was born symbolized not only the power to illuminate, but also the potential to consume. In him burned a flame that was as mesmerizing as it was dangerous, a constant reminder of both his capacity for greatness and the peril inherent in unchecked ambition. His intellect and insight, gifts from the divine, allowed him to perceive the vast potential of his own being. Yet, these same qualities led him to measure his worth against that of other creations. Observing Adam, crafted from the modest elements of earth and water, Iblis saw not the innocence of a new creation, but a stark contrast to his own radiant nature. To him, the vibrant and transformative power of fire rendered his own essence superior, setting the stage for a growing discontent and a burgeoning belief in his own exalted status. This self-assuredness was not simply an idle thought. It became a defining element of his character. In the silent recesses of his mind, Iblis nurtured the idea that his fiery origin was a mark of exceptional merit, one that should grant him a place of prominence within the divine hierarchy. His reflections turned into a conviction that the Creator's choice to endow him with such a potent essence was not accidental, but indicative of a destiny reserved for those who possess true brilliance. This belief, while initially a source of pride, also carried with it the seeds of defiance. The more Iblis meditated on the disparity between his own nature and that of creations fashioned from clay and water, the more he began to question the established order, a questioning that would eventually spiral into outright rebellion. In the sacred realm where obedience and humility were the cornerstones of existence, Iblis's inner fire burned with an intensity that set him apart. His mind, illuminated by the spark of divine insight, increasingly saw himself as more than a mere servant in the celestial order. Instead, he began to view his identity as a reflection of the potent, transformative force of fire, an element capable of both creation and destruction. This realization was intoxicating, instilling in him a deep-seated conviction that his nature demanded recognition and honor above all others. Yet the very qualities that made him unique also became the harbinger of his eventual isolation. The brilliant flame of his existence, while a symbol of divine ingenuity, also harbored the dangerous potential for pride, a pride that would challenge the harmony of the divine order. Moreover, the internal struggle that Iblis experienced was emblematic of the eternal conflict between humility and arrogance. His extraordinary consciousness allowed him to see the intricate tapestry of creation, yet it also led him to question his place within it. The more he pondered, the more he believed that his fiery essence, with its dynamic and luminous qualities, was meant for a destiny far grander than that of unquestioning submission. In this duality of purpose, Iblis's nature became a paradox, a brilliant light capable of illuminating truth while simultaneously casting long, dark shadows over his soul. His story serves as a timeless reminder of the potential perils that lie in the overestimation of one's own worth, illustrating how even the purest elements can give rise to defiance when swayed by the seductive allure of pride. In the celestial realms where light and sound converge in a symphony of divine majesty, the angelic court gathered in a state of sublime anticipation. This assembly, composed of innumerable beings of pure light and unwavering devotion, was not merely a congregation of servants, but a living testament to the cosmic order established by the Creator. In this hallowed space, every radiant form, every silent murmur of ethereal wings, spoke of a profound commitment to divine purpose. The atmosphere was thick with the promise of revelation as the angels stood united, awaiting the pronouncement of a command that would echo throughout eternity. As the infinite wisdom of the Creator unfolded before them, the angels received a directive that transcended mere physical gesture, a command that was imbued with layers of symbolic meaning. In a moment that suspended time itself, God decreed that every being in this illustrious court should perform an act of prostration. This was not a command to worship the newly created entity, Adam, in the conventional sense of adoration, but rather an acknowledgement of the intricate design and divine intent behind his creation. The act of bowing was a gesture of recognition, a tangible expression of humility and submission to the overarching divine plan. The command resonated deeply with every member of the angelic host, for it was a call to honor the Creator's wisdom and the unique spark that had been kindled within Adam. In their graceful movements, the angels demonstrated that the act of prostration was far more than a ritualistic bending of a knee. It was an emblem of unity with the Creator's purpose. Each movement was deliberate and reverent, a physical manifestation of the internal state of complete surrender and acknowledgement of a higher order. In that moment, the celestial beings reaffirmed their role as instruments of divine will, their every gesture a silent hymn of devotion that transcended the material world. Within this sacred performance, the beauty of the command lay in its dual nature. On one level, it was a simple act of obedience, a movement shared by all in the presence of the divine. Yet, on a deeper level, it symbolized the humility required to understand one's place within the vast tapestry of creation. The prostration was not an act of servitude in the sense of demeaning oneself, but a conscious recognition that every being, no matter how exalted, was an integral part of a grand, divinely orchestrated design. The angels, in their flawless execution of the command, communicated that true wisdom and strength lie in the ability to acknowledge and embrace one's dependence on the Creator. The scene that unfolded in the angelic court was one of both sublime beauty and poignant significance. As each angel bowed, the entire assembly seemed to vibrate with a harmonious resonance, a collective affirmation of the divine hierarchy and the sacred order of creation. This act of prostration served as a powerful counterpoint to the potential pride that even the most luminous beings could harbor. It reminded every celestial soul that the essence of greatness is not found in self-exaltation, but in the quiet, steadfast commitment to the divine will. The prostration was a call to remember that every element of the universe, regardless of its origin, was fashioned with intentionality and care. In the interplay of light and shadow that characterized the angelic court, the command to bow also laid the groundwork for the unfolding of events that were to come. It established a clear demarcation between obedience and defiance, a line that would soon be tested by the emergence of dissent. Yet at that moment, the court was a harmonious whole, united in its expression of reverence. Every graceful bend of the celestial form was a reaffirmation of the belief that humility was the highest virtue, a truth that resonated throughout the cosmos. The significance of this divine command extended far beyond the physical act itself. It was a ritual that encapsulated the eternal struggle between pride and humility, between the desire for self-glorification and the wisdom of surrendering to a higher power. The angel's response was a silent narrative of fidelity, a demonstration that in the vast, unending expanse of creation, the acknowledgement of divine supremacy was the cornerstone of cosmic order. Their elegant obedience was a powerful metaphor for the ideal relationship between the Creator and His creations, a relationship built on trust, respect, and the understanding that true greatness comes from the capacity to serve a purpose greater than oneself. In that moment, as the prostration swept across the angelic court like a gentle, binding wave, it was as if the very fabric of the universe acknowledged a sacred truth, that every act of humility was a step toward eternal wisdom. The divine command was both a celebration of the beauty of submission and a solemn reminder of the responsibilities that come with the gift of creation. It was a scene etched into the annals of time, a luminous chapter that would forever echo the eternal dance of obedience, reverence, and the unyielding pursuit of divine unity. In that fateful moment in the celestial assembly, Iblis's refusal was not a spur-of-the-moment act of obstinacy, but a deeply rooted expression of his identity and self-perception. As the divine command resonated through the heavenly court, every angel bowed in perfect unison, a gesture of complete submission and recognition of the Creator's wisdom. Yet Iblis, whose very essence was forged from the blazing element of fire, found himself caught in a storm of conflicting emotions. His mind, alight with the brilliance of his own nature, rebelled at the thought of lowering himself in deference to a being fashioned from the humble elements of clay and water. In his heart, the idea that he should bow to Adam was an affront to the very core of his existence. It was not merely a physical act he was being asked to perform, but a symbolic submission that, in his eyes, diminished the extraordinary qualities that defined him. Iblis's inner world was a tumult of pride and indignation. His creation from fire had endowed him with qualities of dynamism, intensity, and a transformative power that he believed elevated him above all others. As he observed the angel's seamless compliance, a burning conviction grew within him. A conviction that his very nature was superior, and that the divine act of prostration was a misunderstanding of the natural order. To him, fire symbolized purity and strength, elements that could illuminate the darkest corners of the universe. How then could a being born of mere clay, with its earthly simplicity and malleability, be accorded the same honor as he? In that moment, Iblis's thoughts coalesced into a powerful assertion. He was not meant to kneel before what he considered a lesser creation, but rather, he was destined for a position of prominence that acknowledged his unique, fiery origin. The silence that followed his internal debate was charged with tension. As the other celestial beings executed the command with graceful uniformity, Iblis stood apart, his presence marked by a defiant radiance. His refusal was articulated not only in his failure to bow, but also in the intensity of his inner resolve. He perceived the act of bowing as a concession to an order that did not recognize the diversity and inherent worth of each creation. In his eyes, true reverence was not about uniformity of action, but about acknowledging the unique attributes bestowed upon each being by the Creator. His refusal was a declaration that the measure of worth was not solely determined by the act of submission, but by the essence from which one was made. For Iblis, the brilliance of fire was a testament to a higher form of existence, one that should not be sullied by what he deemed an act of misplaced humility. This bold defiance was a turning point, a moment where the internal fire of his pride transformed into a blazing statement of individual supremacy. Iblis's thoughts swirled around the notion that his refusal was a natural consequence of his distinctiveness. He argued within his own heart that if the Creator had indeed endowed him with the luminous qualities of fire, then it was only fitting that he would maintain his elevated stature. His inner dialogue was a mixture of reverence for his own nature and a profound rejection of the order that demanded uniform submission. It was a moment where the struggle between self-assertion and collective obedience came into sharp focus, and Iblis chose the path of defiance. His act of resistance was not born out of spite alone. It was a philosophical stance, a belief that his unique origin granted him a right to pride, a right to stand apart from the rest of the creation. As the echoes of his silent rebellion reverberated through the celestial halls, the implications of his refusal began to unfold. In that instant, the balance of divine order was irrevocably altered. His act was a microcosm of the eternal conflict between the pursuit of individual excellence and the call for communal humility. While the angels had demonstrated their unwavering commitment to the Creator through their obedient acts of prostration, Iblis's stance underscored a different, more turbulent perspective. It was a perspective that celebrated the inherent power of self-identity, even if it meant challenging the established norms of divine hierarchy. In the wake of his refusal, a profound silence settled over the heavenly court, punctuated only by the lingering echo of defiance. Iblis's decision to reject the act of bowing was not merely a momentary lapse in obedience, but a foundational declaration of his belief in his own superiority. This singular act of dissent marked the beginning of a dramatic and irreversible shift in his destiny. It was an act that would set him on a path of estrangement, casting him into a role defined by eternal opposition and rebellion. The defiant spark that had once signified his unique brilliance now ignited a flame of isolation and perpetual conflict with the divine order. In choosing to uphold his pride, Iblis redefined the nature of his existence. His refusal became a symbol of the perilous allure of unchecked self-regard, a cautionary tale of how the very qualities that can elevate an individual may also lead to profound downfall. His act of defiance resonated not only as a challenge to the immediate command, but also as an enduring testament to the complexity of free will and the eternal struggle between pride and humility. The repercussions of his decision would echo throughout the ages, serving as a timeless reminder of the delicate balance between asserting one's identity and adhering to the collective order ordained by the Creator. In this singular, defiant moment, Iblis sealed his fate, transforming from a being of radiant potential into an emblem of eternal rebellion, a stark, unyielding symbol of the cost of pride. In the aftermath of Iblis's defiant act, a palpable tension descended upon the heavenly assembly, and the very air seemed to tremble under the weight of impending judgment. The silence that followed his refusal was not merely an absence of sound. It was a herald of divine displeasure, an ominous prelude to a moment that would forever alter the cosmic order. In that fateful instant, the Creator's gaze fell upon Iblis, and the clarity of divine wisdom pierced through the veil of pride that had taken root in his heart. There, in the sanctified presence of the celestial court, the judgment was pronounced, a decree that would set the course for Iblis's eternal destiny. The judgment was not delivered in a tone of anger, but with a solemn gravity that underscored the irrevocable nature of divine law. The Creator, whose wisdom was as boundless as the universe itself, regarded Iblis's defiance as a transgression that disrupted the delicate balance of submission and humility. This act of insubordination was not a mere lapse in obedience. It was a fundamental rejection of the divine order and a blatant assertion of self-exaltation over the ordained hierarchy. In response, the divine verdict was both clear and unyielding. Iblis was condemned for his pride, for allowing his inner light to be overshadowed by a dangerous hubris that threatened to unmoor the very fabric of cosmic harmony. In the solemn pronouncement of judgment, the Creator decreed that Iblis would be cast out from the lofty realms of celestial grace, a banishment that was as much a separation of spirit as it was of physical form. This exile was not merely a punitive measure, but a profound transformation of Iblis's existence. He who had once been a radiant being among the angels was now condemned to roam a desolate expanse, cut off from the eternal communion of the divine. The decree was a reminder that in the universe, no act of defiance, however fervently born out of a sense of self-worth, could escape the immutable laws of divine order. As the words of judgment echoed through the heavenly court, the transformation of Iblis was set into motion. His once luminous form, a symbol of his fiery origin and the brilliance of his being, began to diminish in the presence of divine retribution. The very essence that had made him unique now bore the marks of a profound loss, a loss of favor, of connection, and of the honor that had once elevated him among the ranks of the obedient. In that moment, Iblis was no longer the exalted being of light and fire. He became an eternal outcast, condemned to bear the burden of his own defiance. The exile was both a physical separation and a spiritual rift, a permanent estrangement from the celestial court that had once celebrated his existence. The implications of this divine judgment reached far beyond the confines of that singular moment. Iblis's fall from grace became a timeless testament to the peril of unchecked pride and the inexorable nature of divine justice. It was a lesson inscribed into the annals of creation that the pursuit of self-glory at the expense of humility would invariably lead to downfall. The Creator, in his infinite wisdom, had set forth a principle that would echo through the ages, one that underscored the sanctity of obedience and the inherent dangers of allowing one's own light to be dimmed by arrogance. In his exile, Iblis was destined to wander, a perpetual reminder of the consequences that arise when the divine order is defied. Thus, the divine judgment and subsequent exile of Iblis were not merely punitive measures but profound declarations of the cosmic law. They revealed a universe in which every act of defiance, no matter how brilliantly justified by one's own perception, would be met with the immutable force of divine retribution. In casting Iblis out, the Creator not only restored the sacred balance of humility and obedience, but also set the stage for an eternal struggle, a conflict between the forces of defiance and the enduring might of divine wisdom, a struggle whose echoes continue to resonate throughout the tapestry of existence. In the wake of Iblis's defiant act, a profound stillness descended upon the celestial realm, a silence heavy with the inevitability of divine retribution. The Creator, whose wisdom and justice spanned the infinite reaches of existence, regarded Iblis with a sorrowful resolve. No longer could the light of that once exalted being be allowed to shine unchallenged by the pride that had marred his soul. The decree, when it came, was both firm and sorrowful, a manifestation of the eternal law that demands humility before the divine will. Iblis's inner flame, which had burned so fiercely with a sense of superiority, was now subject to the unyielding judgment of the Almighty. In that solemn moment, the Creator pronounced that Iblis, for his insolence and for the arrogance that had driven him to defy the sacred order, must be expelled from the heavenly host. This was not a punishment born of caprice, but a necessary act to restore balance and reaffirm the sanctity of obedience within the cosmos. The divine judgment resonated through the celestial spheres as a powerful reminder that every act of defiance carries with it a heavy cost. Iblis, whose radiance had once lit the halls of the angelic court, was now destined to become a wanderer in the desolate reaches of existence. The expulsion was both a physical and spiritual separation, a tearing away from the communion of light and order that had defined his early existence. His once luminous presence began to fade, replaced by the shadows of isolation and regret. As he was cast out, the echoes of the Creator's decree reverberated throughout the universe, a solemn reminder that pride and self-exaltation could not stand against the immutable law of divine will. In that fateful instant, Iblis's fate was sealed, and the cosmic order demanded that he bear the burden of his own transgression. The expulsion was not merely a punitive measure, it was a transformative act that redefined the very essence of his being. No longer could he partake in the celestial harmony that had once united all creations in a shared purpose of divine obedience. Instead, he was condemned to roam a realm of perpetual exile, a state of existence marked by a constant, gnawing reminder of his fall from grace. This exile would serve as both his penance and his perpetual companion, a reminder that the cost of defiance is eternal separation from the light of divine unity. The celestial court, though composed entirely of beings bound to the Creator by unwavering submission, felt the weight of this transformation deeply. The expulsion of Iblis was a moment of profound sorrow and caution, a testament to the principle that greatness is inseparable from humility. Even in the midst of their own perfect obedience, the angels were not indifferent to the tragedy of his downfall. They understood, in their pure and unblemished state, that every being is woven into the intricate tapestry of creation by the threads of reverence and respect for divine wisdom. Iblis's defiant act had disrupted that delicate balance, and his subsequent exile was the natural consequence of a soul consumed by its own pride. Thus, the judgment and exile of Iblis stand as an eternal emblem of divine justice, a reminder that the exaltation of self above the ordained order invites not only downfall, but an everlasting estrangement from the source of all light. His expulsion from the celestial realms restored the sanctity of divine obedience, while simultaneously etching his fate into the annals of cosmic history. Now, as Iblis wanders in a realm far removed from the grace of the heavenly court, his existence remains a somber parable of the peril inherent in unchecked pride and the inexorable might of divine law. The story of Iblis offers a profound meditation on the nature of pride and rebellion, inviting us to reflect deeply on how unchecked ego can distort even the most luminous of beings. At its heart, this narrative illustrates that pride is not merely a human flaw, but a cosmic principle that can lead to an irreversible separation from the greater order of things. When pride takes root, it transforms the perception of one's own worth into a false elevation, a dangerous distortion that blinds the individual to the beauty of collective harmony and the wisdom inherent in humility. This is vividly exemplified in the act of defiance that Iblis committed, a refusal to lower himself in submission, not out of ignorance, but from a profound conviction in his own superiority. His rebellion, fueled by an unyielding sense of self, served not only as a challenge to the divine command, but also as a rupture in the delicate balance that holds creation together. In reflecting on this tale, one recognizes that rebellion, when born out of arrogant pride, is an act of isolation, It severs the vital connections that bind individuals to a larger, more purposeful existence. Iblis's decision to assert his individuality over the collective will of the celestial order set him on a path of perpetual estrangement, a reminder that the desire to be singularly great often comes at the cost of belonging. This same dynamic plays out in everyday life, where individuals and societies sometimes sacrifice unity for the sake of self-aggrandizement. The narrative encourages us to see that true strength is found not in asserting one's independence at all costs, but in acknowledging one's place within a broader, interconnected tapestry of existence. Moreover, the story invites contemplation on the consequences of allowing the flame of pride to burn unchecked. What might begin as a spark of self-confidence can quickly grow into a consuming fire, one that leaves behind nothing but the ruins of broken relationships and lost opportunities. The example of Iblis reminds us that while the pursuit of excellence is commendable, it must be tempered with humility and an awareness of our limitations. Only through a balanced approach can we truly appreciate the contributions of others and maintain the harmony essential to both personal growth and communal progress. In this eternal dance between pride and humility, the human spirit finds its most genuine expression, a delicate balance that upholds not only individual dignity, but also the collective well-being of all creation. This narrative, woven through the ages, imparts an enduring lesson about the perils of unchecked arrogance and the value of humility. Iblis, who once shone with the brilliance of his fiery origin, ultimately allowed his self-assured nature to eclipse the wisdom of submission and reverence. His defiance, far from being a mere act of disobedience, became a stark declaration of individual supremacy, a declaration that, in the eyes of divine justice, was both misguided and tragically flawed. Reflecting on this account, one is compelled to recognize that true strength lies not in an unyielding assertion of one's individuality, but in the recognition of one's place within a larger, divinely orchestrated tapestry. The consequences of Iblis's rebellion echo through the corridors of time, serving as a timeless reminder that the elevation of the self above the ordained order leads to isolation and enduring regret. In contemplating his fall, we are invited to examine our own lives, to weigh the balance between personal ambition and the virtues of humility and respect for a greater collective purpose. Ultimately, this ancient tale encourages us to embrace the wisdom of restraint, to honor the delicate balance that sustains not only the cosmos, but also the integrity of the human spirit, and to recognize that humility is the true measure of greatness. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the timeless narrative of Iblis. We hope this exploration of pride, defiance, and divine wisdom has sparked reflection and deeper understanding. If you found value in this story and its lessons, please consider subscribing to Islamic Insights for more enriching discussions and interpretations of our rich heritage. Remember, each tale offers a mirror for our own inner struggles and triumphs, inviting us to seek humility, understanding, and a closer connection with the divine. Stay curious, stay reflective, and until next time, peace and blessings from all of us at Islamic Insights.